I, 40 female, am significantly older than my sister, 25. As such, after she was born, my parents repeatedly looked over and parentified me in favour of her. Examples include giving her my old clothes and toys without my permission, rather than preserving them as a keepsake of my childhood. In short, my inner child has had to do a lot of healing over the years. I am in low contact with my parents and sister, but apparently she's engaged and wants me to be a part of the wedding party. Now, I'm not comfortable around children of any age. It's part of my trauma. Being around them for me comes with a sense of responsibility that reminds me of the neglect I suffered at the hands of my family. My sister knows this, so I assumed that with her asking me to be in the wedding would be child-free. During a discussion, she mentioned that her fiancé's best friend's daughter would serve as a flower girl, and our cousin's son would be the ring bearer. I reminded her that I would not be comfortable around children and expressed my disappointment that she would invite me to be in a wedding that is not child-free. She looked sad for a second and told me that there were many young children and families that were close to her and her fiancé, and the day would feel incomplete without them. If I wasn't comfortable around children to that extent, she would understand if I couldn't attend. I was shocked that she would uninvite me in favour of random kids, and it reminded me of being thrown aside in favour of her when we were young, so I left to collect myself. I attempted to ask my parents to talk some sense into her, but surprise, surprise, they took her side. At this point, I was profoundly hurt and needed an outlet, so I did something that might make me an idiot. I'm friends with some other family members on Facebook, and I made a post about how my sister was kicking me out of the wedding and that my parents were taking her side, all because of the trauma that they contributed to themselves. I didn't go into detail because I didn't think it was anyone else's business. I just wanted to vent. Now people are refusing to go to my sister's wedding unless I'm reinstated as part of the wedding. She and my parents are begging me to come but still refusing to budge on the children being there, so it doesn't make much difference. I feel bad because I didn't know that our family would refuse to come. I cannot go to an event with many children running around or retract my statement because I don't want the family to think I lied. Am I the idiot for refusing to go? Edit, I am in therapy. My therapist is incredible and helped me realize how heavily my past has affected me. I have yet to discuss the Facebook post with her, but we'll see what she says. Also, I was once left alone with my sister for 2 days, and one night after my grandfather died when my parents had to leave the state. I wanted to be with my grandmother and family too, but my sister, who was 9 then, and easily could have stayed with a friend or something, obviously just had to come first. You are the idiot. Your parents giving your hand-me-downs to your sister is not parentification, it's economics. You didn't lose your childhood because your sister wore your old sweatshirt or played in your old playpen, or that you were asked to babysit once during a family emergency. One could easily turn things around, and your sister could complain that she was treated worse because, while her older sister got all her things new, she had to make do with 15-year-old leftovers. Jesus, lady, your sister didn't uninvite you. She accepted that you declined the invitation because, apparently, being within 100 feet of anyone under 18 gives you hives. Blasting her all over social media and deliberately omitting details so that she would look like the villain is the true cherry on the cake. Absolutely this. OP reeks of manipulation and entitlement. Clearly didn't cope well with not being an only child anymore. I'd love some examples of parentification too. At this rate, she was probably paid to babysit. I was emotionally exhausted just reading this story. I can't imagine how worn out her family feels. Also, I'm sitting here, yet again, reflecting on how easy it is to manipulate therapists to validate bad behavior. OP has such a, how to put it, interesting view of how her parents harmed her that I almost wonder if she has the opposite interpretation of what the therapist says. Darling, you have an issue about making everything about you, don't you? I would be willing to guess that your trauma wasn't about being parentified, but about no longer being the baby of the family. You're not traumatized. Everything you experienced was a normal part of being a family. You're just a person who takes every excuse to be miserable. Your whole story reeks of jealousy. My husband, 42, and I, 41 female, have been married for 10 years and have 2 kids. My husband's family is lovely, but doesn't talk about anything complex. My sister-in-law, 40, let's call her Daisy, lives at home with them. Daisy has always lived at home and struggles with managing her finances. She's great at her job but is on minimum wage and her parents pay for her car, accommodation, food, phone, etc. My mother-in-law, 78, and father-in-law, 80, are retired and have enough savings to go on nice holidays, etc., so this is not an issue for them. Sister-in-law will make some unnecessary purchases, e.g. buy a new Apple laptop to replace hers, which was 3 years old, use high-end hair products and cosmetics, subscribe to all the streaming services, regularly buy new clothing, shoes, etc. I wouldn't have minded any of this, except recently my mother-in-law has been commenting along the lines of, "She'll be living with you when we're gone," and implied we'll have to manage her car, etc. They've done this joke before and don't do any of this conversation with my husband. I got a bit annoyed at this, as no one thinks that there are any other options for her to improve her finances, e.g. parents could plan to one day move out of the sizable 4-bedroomed house they're in, downsize and buy sister-in-law a flat. If they don't make that plan, then I worry she will spend anything she inherits and not have anywhere to live or not plan. This happened with an earlier large inheritance she got from her grandparents. When the topic of moving out has been brought up in the past by father-in-law, she walks out of the room. My husband thinks it may have been a joke comment and not to rock the boat. I know it's none of my business, so am I the idiot for asking them to make a financial plan for their daughter's future that doesn't involve my husband and I will just take on the role of parent? Edit, she's not disabled in terms of having a learning difficulty, she has a degree, but she has a problem with motivation. She doesn't appear depressed though and has friends, but half of her friends are in a similar situation, living at home. It's like she's resigned to never moving out because of the cost of housing, but has got into a situation where her disposable income is quite high because she's not saving anything and has no large expenses, so she will often buy things that I wouldn't, e.g. the Apple laptop, whereas I share an old desktop with my husband. Not the idiot, it's not a joke. They're tossing that out there like a grenade to see if it blows up or not. Please have an in-depth conversation with your husband and let him convey the result you both agree on. I think you should say that you're not taking financial responsibility for sister-in-law once father-in-law and mother-in-law have passed. Sister-in-law is how she is because she's been enabled all her life. Your mother-in-law talks about her daughter like she's 12 years old, which is the problem. Your sister-in-law has been treated like a child for her entire life, and now your mother-in-law expects you to become her new mommy when she dies. They did their daughter a shameful disservice by not allowing her to grow up. This needs to be discussed with your husband ASAP. I would never let a lazy grown-down mooch to live in my house and eat off my kid's plate. I would divorce my husband before that would happen. Talk to your husband and he needs to speak to his parents. My sister, 29, and I, female 23, are both pregnant. She's nearing her 7th month. She had an accidental pregnancy with someone she was having an affair with, so she's not getting his support. My sister moved back in with our parents and she's at risk of losing her job. She has hyperemesis gravidarum, so she's not having a good time and she's had to skip work often. She was also recently diagnosed with gestational diabetes. I also got pregnant accidentally, but with my boyfriend, 25, whom I've been dating for 2 years. I'm in my 14th week. It was a big surprise to us because I was on birth control, but we were already living together and we were planning on getting married, so we were able to accept this a lot better. Beside that, I've had normal pregnancy symptoms, which kind of suck more than I expected them, but my nausea is almost non-existent by now, so I'm doing a lot better now. My parents and I live close by, so we visit often. Also, when I got pregnant, I asked her for contact with her doctor, so ever since we've been going together to our checkups, because I thought she'd like it, and it was also helpful for her. The thing is that my sister and I are spending more time together and often talking about our pregnancies as well. So my sister had her baby shower last week. The party was nice and we got to see some of our extended family who live away. Since they're also my family, they asked me about my pregnancy and we chatted about that as well. My boyfriend was also invited, so because I'm the closest person to him, he was with me almost all the time. But then my sister got upset, she wasn't feeling well, and I don't know exactly what triggered her, but she got angry at me because I was stealing her attention. She told me I always want to be the focus of attention and I can't even let her have one day. She said that I'm always bragging about how good and supportive my boyfriend is and how easy my pregnancy is, and I don't know when to shut up because I don't have empathy for others that are going through a more challenging time. I started crying. This was so unexpected to me because she had never implied or said something about this before. Our parents and my boyfriend rushed to comfort me and they got angry at her. They had an argument and my boyfriend and I left. Almost everyone sided with me at this. And yesterday my sister sent me a long message about how I was an entitled and spoiled golden child, literally like that, and how much she always feels like she's in the shadows because of me. She accused me of getting pregnant on purpose because I couldn't tolerate not having everyone's attention, that I complain about small things when I have it easy, all of that. She blocked me so I couldn't reply to anything. I only spoke about this with my boyfriend, and he told me not to listen to her. He also told me that I should tell my parents about this because how my sister treats me is unfair. But what if she's actually right? Everyone's the idiot here. You're 23 and 29 years old. You're too old to have your parents mediate your disputes. Your sister may not be getting child support from the affair partner, but she should be getting financial support. She should consult an attorney for her options for child support. Unless you are the golden child, whereby you always attempt to bring in a battalion, knowing no matter what you do, parents will cheer you on. I'm not convinced the sister is the bad one here. I'm getting a goody two-shoes vibe and a suck-up boyfriend. Exactly. I'm getting OP is majorly downplaying what they're saying and acting. Either deliberately for sympathy here, or unintentionally cannot read the room. At the baby shower, if someone asks you how your pregnancy is, it's going well and move on. Don't go on sharing details about your boyfriend or anything. It's not your day. I also feel OP thinks she's better than her older sister. This caught my eye too. It sounds like OP's the golden child who can do no wrong. When reading the story, I felt she did get pregnant on purpose because her sister was now living with her parents, getting extra attention. She had to do something to take the light off sis and back on her. Jealous all the way into adulthood. Her sister's childhood was probably a nightmare compared to the OP's. Yeah, you are the idiot, OP. I, 48 female, met my husband 8 years ago and his daughters, aged 19 and young teen, 6 years ago. My husband divorced their mother 13 years ago. My husband has told me the whole story about the divorce, and while I won't go into detail as it's a long story, it wasn't amicable and really drove a wedge between him and his daughters, particularly his oldest. The other main thing that has gotten between my husband and his oldest daughter is that she's on the spectrum and has very little social awareness. Pretty much every time I see her, either I or someone else must get on her about time and place, as she tends to talk about things that aren't appropriate. When it happens, she brings up the divorce the most. She gets a kick out of telling family members and friends stories about her father, in which he is the bad guy. While these are true stories, a lot of what she tells people is exaggerated. I've asked her several times not to discuss her childhood or the divorce during family events, as I don't want our extended family or friends to view my husband in a negative light. A few weeks ago, during a back-to-school party after winter break, I overheard her telling her stepfather a story about a time her dad was intoxicated. I stopped her and said that we'd been over this, and at this point it felt like she was doing it on purpose. She started to make all kinds of excuses, such as her stepfather asking about it and her not making it up, and I told her it didn't matter and that she shouldn't be talking about it regardless. She walked away from me, which she tends to do during confrontation, and her mother came up to me about 10 minutes later and laid into me for yelling at her daughter. She told me she agreed about the lack of awareness and time and place, but that I needed to let her handle it because she's her mother and I barely know her, which is false. My husband has visitation and has the entire time I've known them. I don't know if I was wrong. I've talked to her about it so many times, so I feel like it was at least partially warranted, but I'm curious what others think. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Your stepdaughter is an adult and was never your child. She has every right to talk about her own childhood and upbringing, and is under no obligation to bottle that up to keep you comfortable or save face with the family. How you speak about her being on the spectrum drives the point home. You married a divorced man with kids. You don't get to decide their story. Hear from this young woman for hours and hours and, like the stepfather, ask questions. What is OP trying to hide? I think OP was the mistress. My female teen whole family, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles and cousins, is attending a formal event in 2 weeks. My step-cousin Jen and I are the same age, and her dad married my aunt when she was 6. Jen's dad doesn't make a lot of money, so Jen didn't have many things growing up, and my mother would always give my old stuff to Jen rather than throw them away. Especially for formal events, which we all attend pretty often because of my grandparents, my mother would always take the dress I'd worn to the last function and give it to Jen so that her dad didn't have to buy one. As we're older and not growing, I only loan the dresses to Jen. I assumed it would be the same this time, so a few days ago when Jen and her family came over for dinner, I took Jen upstairs to give her the dress. Jen saw my new dress for the event and asked if I would loan her that one instead. She said she never got to wear a dress everyone hadn't already seen me in, and it wasn't fair she always had hand-me-downs. I said no because I bought the dress to wear to this event. I was being nice to lend her a dress. She doesn't get to demand it be the new one. Jen and I were arguing and eventually the adults got involved. My parents stuck up for me and said I don't have to share the dress, but Jen was very upset and her dad took her side, saying it wouldn't kill me to wear one of the many other dresses I have and just let Jen have the special one for once. I then said if she wanted a specific dress, he should buy it, not try and take it from kids, which set him off. The parents are now fighting over this dress drama, and part of me thinks maybe I should have just loaned Jen the dress. I love that dress and I was excited to wear it, which is why I didn't, and my parents say I absolutely shouldn't. But I don't want everyone to fall out over it. Am I the idiot for not giving her the dress? Not the idiot. The real idiot here is Jen's dad. I can understand Jen wanting the dress. It must be difficult for her never to get a new dress. You're totally right to want to keep your dress. But Jen's dad should make an effort. Take another job, work overtime, or even borrow money for once to offer this to his daughter. It's good that your parents were on your side. I feel for Jen, but you aren't the reason she's never had a new dress. Her parents are. Of course her dad was immediately on her side. It's making him look terrible, not you and Jen. Please try not to be too hard on her. She's wrong to want to wear your stuff before you do, but she's also hurting. She's had nothing but hand-me-downs her whole life. True, I was in Jen's boat, mostly having hand-me-downs, but I got a job at 15 so I could buy my own clothes. As a mid-teen, she can very easily get a part-time job. I wouldn't let her borrow anything else. OP, stop loaning Jen any dresses. Since Jen picked a fight and tried to take your brand new dress, she lost her borrowing privileges.